The most certain way to happiness is not in wishing to be happy, but in making other people happy.
The beginning of the 19th century. The capital of Russia is St. Petersburg. Alexander I is on the throne. The empire's population is 35.5 million people, primarily serfs. In 1806, a young doctor, Dottor Haas, comes to Russia from Germany at the invitation of Princess Repnina, whom he treated in Europe. Haas was very well educated, church school, and then courses in philosophy, mathematics, and medicine.
Young man, you have an unquestionable talent as a doctor. With your education, you will be able to achieve a great deal in Russia. There are great prospects there now.
My dearest uncle, the lot is drawn. Now you judge for yourself what to expect. Tomorrow morning at around 7 a.m., I'm leaving Vienna and traveling with Princess Repnina to St. Petersburg as her doctor.
In 1812, the year Russia was at war against France, Haas became an army doctor. He spent 2 years traveling with the army from Moscow to Paris, and in that time, he saw a great deal. Who sees more pain and suffering daily than an army doctor? Haas dressed wounds, surgically removed bullets, amputated frostbitten arms and legs, and treated people with fevers and contusions. In his free time, he discussed medicine and the ways in which God works with officers and ordinary soldiers. After the war, Haas returned briefly to Germany, where he buried his father, and again left for Russia, this time forever. There were many patients in Moscow when the city was recovering from the fire. Unlike other doctors, he didn't put on airs, attempt to mystify others, or casually use obscure terms. The news about a miracle doctor spread all over Moscow. Dr. Haas's career was successful in every way. His private practice brought him money and fame, and his research, his contemporaries were forced to admit, was among the first and best of its kind. Haas was well received in the most famous households, and he was on friendly terms with the Governor-General of Moscow, Prince Golitsyn.
I think that Fyodor Petrovich was a doctor and scientist of genius. He felt that he couldn't cure a man by curing only his body, knowing that a human body is both body and soul. He tried to make not only the body healthy, but also the soul and the heart. It was the only Catholic church in Moscow. He often prayed in the church. It was important to him to be a good Christian in order to be a good doctor.
In 1825, Haas was offered the post of head doctor for all of Moscow's hospitals. It was clear from the first that there was much to do, as the patients were living under horrible conditions, They lay in rags on putrid straw, many windows were broken, and there was virtually no heating. Haas set about his work with great energy. He wrote endless reports to his governor and minister, supported conscientious doctors who were falling over from exhaustion, and lectured shameless officials who were allocating funds without helping the sick. The same officials, along with some of his colleagues, first derided his efforts and then began to actively hate him. Haas became the object of numerous denunciations and accusations.
How could this foreigner with such a swelled head earn such ranks and titles? Dr. Haas is not mentally healthy.
In 1826, Haas was forced to leave his post and return to private practice due to opposition from officials who did not want to obey the troublesome doctor. On December 29, 1828, a prison committee was created in Moscow, its goal being the redemption of criminals. Haas was once again asked to accept an administrative post, and he agreed to become a member of the prison committee and head doctor of prison hospitals.
I accept this proposal, Your Excellence, but only on the terms that I can visit the prisons and report to you and to the committee at all hours about the injustices that are taking place there.
Over a quarter century, he missed only one of 253 monthly committee meetings when he himself was severely ill.
When
I get back after a prison visit, I feel like a wrung-out rag or a boiled piece of macaroni. I can't write a letter or draw up a commercial document. I'm worn out. When I'm not listening to their confessions, I'm a man. Afterwards, I'm a mess. We hold the chalice facing the communicants. I have to force the words out one at a time through my tears. I can hardly give communion. I have to hold the chalice to the side so that my tears won't fall in it. This great Catholic, Fyodor Petrovich, never, as we say, played to the audience. He became a hero because there was no other way for him. He did what his conscience called for, and whatever his love for the suffering fallen man inspired him to do, he set out to do it.
The Vorobyovy Gory district. Nowadays, this is a kind of Moscow Montmartre. But earlier, a transit prison stood at this very spot. Here, every week, a new group of prisoners began their march through Russia to the depths of Siberia. Haas began his work on the prison committee by leading a fight against the iron rods to which groups of 5 to 8 people were chained.
Look here, if you please, Your Excellence. This is the rod I had the honor to tell you about. Various people are attached to one rod. Think, Your Excellence, a girl or even an old woman and a man. They need sometimes to go to the bathroom, and they have to sleep together.
Not waiting for the rods to be abolished, he ordered, at his own expense, large batches of more comfortable shackles and distributed them to the prisoners.
He found there his vocation to be a doctor. As a Christian, he felt that Christ lived in these castaways and that it was worth loving them and doing all that one could to make them feel better and find hope. Because on whom else in Russia could they place their hopes?
Для заключенных здесь, в России, какая надежда еще была? И Федор Петрович был как отец.
Fyodor Petrovich was like a father for them. He conveyed something warm, talked with them, gave them little gifts, a Bible, because he felt that they could find a bit of light for themselves there. He did it all because he believed that Jesus lived in every one of them.
Thanks to Haas, prisoners received the right to petition for appeals of their proceedings, the right to employment in workshops, and the right to go to school. Many serfs were deported to Siberia simply by order of the authorities, at the whim of a dissatisfied landlord. Haas raised money to free serfs' wives, or, if they went with their husbands, to give them money to live on. He took donations, built asylums for the poor, and gathered certificates to vindicate wrongly accused prisoners. The prisoners even used to say that there was nothing Haas wouldn't do for them. He often prayed with his prisoners in the prison's Orthodox Church. Before they were sent to Siberia, he gave every literate convict a little book he wrote called the ABCs of Christian Behavior.
Такой был архимандрит, значит, Spiridon.
There was an Archimandrite Spiridon who worked in prisons for the condemned in Nerchinsk. He heard the confessions of Orthodox believers. Sometimes he had to listen to the confessions of Catholics and Protestants, and even of Muslims and Buddhists. God is one, and that is why Spiridon said, the walls that divide us don't reach as high as God.
Больше чем 100 лет назад, конечно, наши отношения.
More than a century ago, relations between Orthodox and Catholic churches were still very complicated. Today we know that the Pope says the Christian Church should breathe with two lungs, the Orthodox and Catholic churches.
Это православная церковь, это католическая церковь. Но Федор Петрович
Fyodor Petrovich thought so as early as then. He felt that Orthodox believers and Catholics were first and foremost Christians. They are brothers and sisters, and Haas always said, if we know each other better, we can't help but to love each other.
Filaret, Moscow's Orthodox Metropolitan, now an Orthodox saint, often assisted Haas in his efforts to obtain clemency and reduce the sentences of prisoners. They once had a misunderstanding.
Fyodor Petrovich, you're always going on about the innocent prisoners, but there are no such people. If a man is punished, it means he is guilty,
said Filaret at the meeting of the prison committee.
But you've forgotten about Christ, Your Eminence,
Haas said, springing to his feet. No one had ever spoken to the omnipotent Moscow Metropolitan so defiantly. For several minutes, Filaret sat with his head down, then rose and said,
No, Fyodor Petrovich. When I uttered those thoughtless words, I hadn't forgotten Christ. He had abandoned me.
He then blessed everyone and left. From day one, prison authorities, police officers, and the commanders of the prisoner escorts saw Haas as an enemy, an airheaded, dim-witted moron with his absurd endeavors to help any old bastard, prisoners, vagrants, and beggars.
Oh, when Haas examines the prisoners after their usual unreasonable complaints, he makes the guards wait in full marching gear.
The only merit of this God's fool is instinctive kindness.
He incites prisoners to make trouble with his overblown philanthropy.
An important element of virtue is that it becomes a habit of kindness rather than remaining a mere principle.
Haas was constantly being denounced. Things went so far that the Moscow chief of police threatened to have Haas deported for pampering and inciting criminals.
Разбойничье покаяние, рай о краде.
Paradise is ornamented with the penitence of sinners. However, prison officials often don't have enough faith to understand that. They can't understand forgiveness for the criminals granted by the Lord, who said, "Today shalt thou be with me in paradise." This is inconceivable, not only for those of little faith, but for us too. It's impossible to comprehend God's mercy, because there is no sin that God's love can't forgive.
Haas was saved from deportation by a cholera epidemic. Moscow was short of doctors. During the cholera epidemic, the number of new cases went as high as 5,000 per month. Civil unrest began, and the same city police chief who had wanted to deport Haas requested that the honorable, respectable gentleman doctor calm the common folk who were alarmed over rumors that officials and doctors were spreading the cholera.
Он вообще не боялся смерти.
He wasn't afraid of death at all, and as a Christian, he supported all people, no matter what they feared. He personally set an example for them. He kissed the diseased to show that people shouldn't be afraid of them, and his example, his force, and his hope helped doctors and common people to support those around them, to work in order to overcome the epidemic.
Once on a street in Moscow, he saw a poor woman dying. He ordered his coachman to stop, sat the woman beside him, and went back to the prison hospital. Having found a bed for the dying woman, he immediately went to Moscow's Governor General, Prince Sherbatov. He fell to his knees weeping. "What's wrong?" asked the astonished prince.
Your Excellence, I won't stand until you allow us to accept all the sick, homeless people in the prison hospital.
So, in 1847, a hospital for the poor, popularly known as the Haas Hospital, was established. People from all over Russia knew of and loved Friedrich Haas. Stories about him were told in prison cells, cheap taverns, prison hospitals, and in shabby huts on the outskirts of Moscow. One snowy winter night, Haas went to visit a patient. Gathering his old but warm wolf fur coat around him, he went off, sinking into the snow and sliding along the planked sidewalks. Suddenly, 3 men emerged from an alleyway.
Oi, you, take off your coat, quickly, and hand over your purse. Give a cry, and we'll kill you. Give you my coat? All right. But, well, I ask you one favor, good people. I'm a doctor, a physician, and I'm hurrying to one of my patients. I won't make it there without my coat. Let's go together. I'll give you my coat at the gates.
Wait, you say you are a doctor? Brothers, this is Fyodor Petrovich himself. My goodness, Father, vessel of mercy, who would dare to hurt you? Forgive me in God's name. Come on, Father, we'll go with you so no one will hurt you.
In Russians, there is above all other qualities the shining virtue of mercy, a readiness and custom to help gladly and abundantly any fellow creature in need.
The funding that the government gave to support prisons and hospitals typically was not enough. Then, Haas would, without a second thought, use his own money. One by one, he sold off his cloth factory, his estate outside Moscow, his coach and 4 white trotters, and his house in the center of Moscow. He spent everything he had on patients' and prisoners' needs, and he lived at the hospitals himself. He spent his last years here, in the police hospital, on Malakazny Lane. His sister, Wilhelmina, with whom he lived, complained in a letter to relatives,
Fritz is so indifferent to money. He spends it so easily. He is ready to give away his last kopeck, and he is very content when he has just such a sum that someone needs. He keeps the last ruble for himself, as if he had thousands left.
he used to wake up at dawn, even on those days when he had to get up in the middle of the night. He would help the medical attendant who was on duty at the time and prepare medicine in the pharmacy. After a quick breakfast, he began receiving patients and making his rounds to the sick. Those who came out from the city, he treated for free. And to those who wanted to pay for their consultations and medicine, he would say,
"Leave as much as you're able in the mug over there."
From noon on, Haas would inspect the prison hospitals and visit the district administration building and police stations to look into arrests that he wanted to verify. He would also go to Vorobyovy Gory almost every day, certainly on the days before and after prisoners were marched out. On the first day of Orthodox Easter, he would make his rounds of the sick and exchange a triple kiss with everyone. He would do the same thing in Butyrskaya prison and at Vorobyovy Gory, where he would usually attend Easter Vigil. On major holidays and on his Saint's Day, Haas received greetings and many sweet cakes and tarts from his friends. With obvious delight, he would cut them into pieces and distribute them among his prison patients. In the evenings, Haas would read and write in his small room and occasionally visit friends, university professors, journalists, and scholars.
Но он чувствовал, что надо все отдать, потому что его пример – это Христос. Христос отдал себе.
Haas felt the need to give everything away because he took Christ for a model. Christ gave himself, his life, and Fyodor Petrovich wanted to do the same. A few years back, various people asked, why can't we work towards the beatification of Fyodor Petrovich Haas? And of course, it's a very good idea. He was a doctor, and today we absolutely need an example to show that a doctor too can be a saint.
Быть святым. Это нам надо сегодня.
On August 19th, 1853, a crowd of some 20,000 Muscovites accompanied state councilor and head doctor of Moscow prison hospitals Friedrich Haas to his final resting place at the Vovedensky Gory Cemetery. Chief of Police Tsinsky, who was posted to keep order during the funeral, dismounted along with his Cossack unit and, lost in the crowd of commoners, followed the funeral train on foot all the way to the cemetery.
Всю жизнь свою посвятил
Haas devoted his life to helping prisoners.
служению заключенным.
Очень хороший человек был.
He was a very good man and had a very good motto, hurry on to do good things. I think everyone should make that effort.
We know that he gave all his money to the poor and died in poverty himself.
The police had to cover the costs of Dr. Haas's funeral, but he left his descendants something of even greater value: his letters and books and the example that he set.
Hurry on to do good things,
Wrote Haas.
be able to forgive, crave reconciliation, and overcome evil with good. Don't be embarrassed by the small scale of the help you can give. Let it be a glass of fresh water, friendly regards, a word of consolation, sympathy, compassion. That's good already.